It's true, we're all a little insane. This line opens up the album that I'm going to be reviewing today called The Open Door by American rock band Evanescence. This might seem like a little bit of a left field choice for me to review because I've not expressed any interest in heavy metal or any kind of really hard rock type music in the past with all my reviews. However, I will preface this by saying that I've always been a fan of Evanescence, really because of this album, The Open Door, and it's why I'm choosing to review this album first before going to their more famous album, Fallen, which I also will review, and then I'll also review their self-titled album. And the reason why I'm reviewing The Open Door and why I love Evanescence is because Amy Lee's vocals. It was 100% what roped me in. Also the visuals. The visuals are very gothic and beautiful, fairy tale. It appealed to me back in 2007, I believe, when it was I heard the first Evanescence song I ever heard was Lithium off of this record, and Call Me When You're Sober. I heard them around the same time, and they both really intrigued me. And so, even though I'm not into heavy metal or like pounding guitar type music whatsoever, Evanescence will always be my one kind of go-to rock band. Now, preface this by saying a lot of heavy metal fans don't consider Evanescence to really be like heavy metal or to really be any kind of metal music to begin with. They're more sort of symphonic. They're more classically inspired. There's some like operatic elements to Amy Lee's voice and her vocal delivery. And they also have a lot of pop sensibilities to their songs. There's actually a lot more pop in there than you might think. And so a lot of times I don't consider them actually heavy metal, even though they do have some heavy metal elements and they definitely use like guitars a lot, electric guitars in particular. Now, I will say that there are some songs on this album, The Open Door, that I didn't actually listen to until only a few years ago. I really only heard the singles a long time ago when the album came out, and I loved the singles and listened to them a ton. And then the rest of the album I didn't actually fully explore until later because I wasn't enough intrigued by the heavy metal sound to like further go into the whole album. I was definitely at that time still more interested in dance pop music. So some of these songs were a little more inaccessible to me then. And there's a few songs on this record that are still a little bit more inaccessible to me, but I still enjoy them and appreciate them a lot more now than I did. The Open Door is their second studio album. It was released on October 3rd, 2006. And they were coming off of a humongously successful debut album, Fallen, which has the songs Bring Me to Life, My Immortal, songs that almost everyone has heard, whether you're a rock or heavy metal fan or not. And the success of that album made it really daunting for them to follow up, I think. And some people criticized this album for sounding different. To be honest, I don't think this album sounds nearly as different from the Fallen album as people say. I think that their third studio album is where you really can hear more of the departure in sound. But every album is a little bit different, and there you can tell that they're exploring new avenues and new sounds and explorations. You know, they had some band change-ups. They don't have on Fallen, they had a guy who actually did singing on Bring Me to Life, Ben Moody, who contributed was a part of the band in 2003 when the album Fallen came out, who left the band to when The Open Door was released. So they had some new members come through. They also had a reason they had to delay the album because their main guitarist, Terry Balsamo, had a stroke. And so that actually pushed the release of the album back about 6 months. So they were, you know, shuffling around, and this band has changed in member format quite a lot. Amy Lee is actually the only original member to this day as of 2017. Otherwise, everything has sort of changed since then. And some people kind of consider this to be more of Amy Lee's project than it is like a band project. Although The Open Door and Fallen definitely still feel like band records. And it's not just Amy Lee that shines through. But again, she is the sort of keystone in this for me, at least in terms of my appeal. You know, Amy Lee's voice is so beautiful and operatic and haunting and over the top in such a beautiful way. And it really comes through, I think, the strongest on this album because they really get to explore with what her voice can do, although they do it on all of her albums. So let's open up with the first song, Sweet Sacrifice. Now, I have to say, I was actually really scared of the music video for this song when this song was a single in 2007 and I was getting into Evanescence. The music video, for me, you know, I was 14 years old and I know that wasn't too young to watch it, but there was some dark imagery in the music video. It was dark and very gothic and very punk. And this song screams that. This song is the definition of like hardcore, tell it at what it is, sort of Evanescence punk rock music. And it's definitely a heavy song. It opens up the album beautifully. Like I said, it opens with a lyric, "It's true, we're all a little insane." And this song can be construed as a song that was written about Ben Moody and possibly some sort of abusive relationship that was going on during the Fallen era. That's what a lot of people have speculated. And it speaks about recovery. You know, you poor, sweet, innocent thing, dry your eyes and testify. Take this and either fight back or move on. You know, just do something about this, because you're going to be wallowing in this dark place forever and you're not going to get anywhere, and this person's just going to lord over you and control you even further. You need to stand up for yourself and cry, "I will have enough. I've had enough. I'm leaving this relationship," or "I'm moving on," or I'm taking you to court. I always get that vibe from this song. So it's a really pounding song. I mean, it opens up the album beautifully. It's not subtle in any way, but it's also not so pop geared, because the lead single off of this album, which is track 2, is "Call Me When You're Sober." Think Christina Aguilera if she got really, really into new metal, like symphonic metal sounds. Because I always viewed this song as having such pop sentiments, or like Amy Winehouse sounds, in the way she delivers the chorus, and particularly the verses, the delivery. There's elements of a lot of pop music in there. But obviously there's the heavy metal aspect to it, and I love the bridge of this song because of the notes that her voice hits. There's a key change that is just so beautifully executed. There's like such an elegance to this song, even though it's a huge FU kind of song. It's the most beautiful way to write a song about a disintegrating relationship. And, you know, obviously you never call me when you're sober. You only want it when it's over. It's such a beautiful way of understanding how so many people are like that. You know, they're just using you. They don't want you when they actually think it matters. They just want you as like a side piece, or they just want you when they're feeling a little tipsy, or they're feeling like not putting a lot of effort into this relationship. And when they do feel the pressure, they scatter. They just disappear. You can't find them. You can't reach them by phone. This is so frustrating. We all can relate to this. So I think part of the reason why this song garnered such strong appeal was not just because of its sound, but so many people could relate to the message of this song. I think it has the sentiment of songs like "Since You've Been Gone" by Kelly Clarkson. That song became so popular because it was such an FU song to exes or people who treated women badly. And I think "Call Me When You're Sober" capitalized on that really well. And so it sort of catapulted the band again into the mainstream, with a sound of music that you wouldn't normally hear on top 40 radio. You know, hip hop was really big in 2007 and 2006. So the fact that, you know, this was successful on mainstream radio alongside, you know, artists like Diddy and Justin Timberlake, I think that's pretty amazing, you know, and Akon and all of them. So I think that this song kind of is it's sort of like the trophy song of this album, because it's like, look where this song got us, you know. It got us on top 40 again. Like, otherwise this album's not very top 40. I mean, there's songs you would obviously hear at Hot Topic. You know, everyone stereotypes like these kind of bands as being Hot Topic bands. But, you know, beyond that, I mean, there's not a lot single radio play worthy stuff, but they're not going for that. You know, that's not why they wrote the album. Weight of the World is a song I didn't actually hear until like 2012. So now we're kind of jumping. Now when I listen to Weight of the World, I'm like so much more aware of like musical stuff. I'm like really listening to the lyrics. You know, "Call Me When You're Sober" and "Lithium" I heard like when I was so young, and I kind of just like immediately fell in love with the melodies predominantly, not so much the lyrical context. I couldn't really relate to it. I mean, at 14 years old, I wasn't dealing with a relationship like "Call Me When You're Sober." You know, I didn't even know what sober meant at that time, believe it or not. "Call Me When You're Sober" introduced me to what the word sober meant, which was hilarious. I was such a sheltered youth. Like, my parents, like, we did not, alcohol, no. It was just like, I didn't know about these things. I was very sheltered, and I'm pretty sure "Call Me When You're Sober" introduced me to what the word sober meant. So, or maybe the song "Sober" by Kelly Clarkson, which came out a little bit after. I don't know. Both of those songs at the same time, I was like, oh, so that's what the word sober means. I was like, what's this word mean? Anyway, "Weight of the World," I think, lyrically speaks to overcoming obstacles in life and feeling tied down all the time by all the pressures of reality, and realizing that your soul is so much stronger than this and it's going to rise above. There's a really strong empowerment theme to this song. It's very metal, but it's also a little bit alternative. I love the part in the song where she sort of like gets into this sort of more psychedelic humming sound that just flows with the song and the pounding guitars. It gets really mysterious sounding. And so the song just has like all these layers of different inspirations and ideas going around, but ultimately it feels cathartic when you belt out the chorus. If you love me, then let go of me. I won't be held down by who I used to be. I just want to overcome these past demons and rise above. And the heaviness of this song speaks to this dark, brooding space that this song and it sort of lives in. But above that darkness, there is hope, there is light. All right. Let me preface this by saying that Lithium is my favorite song of all of Evanescence discography. This song is one of those songs, if I had to put on a list of songs that changed my life, it would be on there. And I probably will make a video at some point where I do list like the top 10 songs that just, I heard and just changed my life forever. This song would probably be on that list. Lithium is just, first of all, the melody is beautiful. You know how I have an ear for melody, and when I was younger, I felt very strongly attached to this melody. I wasn't so invested in the lyrics at that time. I mean, I kind of understood that it was speaking about overcoming an addiction. It spoke about wanting to live again. There's some really dark suicidal themes and elements to this song. It speaks of wanting to give up and not wanting to keep going and trying to fall in love again with life, even though there's substitutes for life that we all can find that aren't really helping us, they're just hurting us. But we always feel drawn to them. And the themes and subject matter of the song, it kind of flew over my head as a 14-year-old kid. But at the time, I mean, oh my goodness, it was just the melody and the visuals. The music video is also one of my favorites by them. It just features Amy Lee in this beautiful, elegant white gown in this snowy forest. And eventually a part of herself walks into the body of water to drown herself. But I love at the end of the video, it just says, I'm going to let it go. And it actually shows her just staring at her reflection in the water. It shows she didn't actually drown herself. She drowned a part of herself in her mind that was so bogged down by the darkness and the addictions that was able to overcome. She could walk away from the body of water and say, I'm going to be stronger now. I'm going to let go of my darkness. Lithium is a song that was written by Kurt Cobain for their Nirvana album, and I do feel like this song, had to be inspired to some extent by this song. There's a bit of a tribute to Nirvana in this aspect of the song. Obviously in the song title, because that song is about suicide, and that song is about finding salvation and moving forward and finding a higher power. And so Lithium, although it could be described as a drug, can be ambiguous in its meaning. Is it a higher power? Is it a reason to live? Or is it something darker that I can't live without? Don't want to lock me up inside. Don't want to forget how it feels without lithium. But oh God, I want to let it go. We get so comfortable with our vices and things that torture us, our addictions and thought patterns that hurt us, but we gotta let them go. We gotta rise above. There's a part of us that knows we have to overcome this. And so the cathartic nature of the delivery of this song, especially the way the song builds and starts out with just this beautiful piano ballad that's so haunting, and then just crunches when she says, but God, I gotta let it go. And you're like, oh dear, here we go. The guitars just flood in on you. It's so well done, and it's just so well composed, and the way it kind of ebbs and flows, it's really, really beautiful. I highly recommend this song to people who are not even heavy metal fans. If you want to listen to one Evanescence song that might really catch your attention, I recommend this song, because it's just so dark and powerful. Nothing else that we really can say about it. It's a goth sort of like, I don't want anything to do with the world sort of song, but it speaks of also this transformation within that's so important in someone's life when they realize they've hit that moment where they don't want to be depressed anymore. They don't want to kill themselves anymore. They found a way to let that darkness go. I forgive you after all. Anything is better than to be alone. And in the end, I guess I had to fall. Always find my place among the ashes. It's such heavy, dark, and I could relate to it when I was so young and I was feeling so different from everyone else. I was just like, yes, this beautiful sadness. That's what this song is about. And it is so indicative of where I was, especially as a teenager. But even now, I feel somewhat, again, more drawn to this song just because of where I am in my life. All right, so the next song, Cloud Nine, I think this song is sort of like a sister song to Weight of the World. It has a very similar structure in sound, and also, melodically it sounds similar, and they all are also kind of speaking thematically about the same thing. It opens up with that sort of mysterious voice lilting that was in the sort of middle of Weight of the World. And so that intrigues you right away. And then it gets like really dark and brooding with the guitars really heavy in the background. It's just saying, if you want to live, then live. If you want to go, then go. I think this song, if you just read the lyrics, it's like the ultimate sort of gothic song. It's all like dark, and even though you can construe light and hope out of the lyrics, it sounds really depressing. I could fall asleep forever. I don't need to touch the sky. I just want to feel that high. If I fall and all is lost, it's where I belong. It's that classic sort of like, I belong at the bottom. I don't belong in some beautiful place. I'm in love with this darkness. And that's something I really want to illustrate, that there is a through line through this album that just really hits me. I mean, the melancholia of this album is, oh, it's so bittersweet. It's so, in love with the darkness. It's like a lot of these songs are love letters to the darkness. And I really appreciate that. Fallen also is sort of a similar vein. I mean, look, this is gothic punk music. I mean, that's what it's going to be. And there's a part of me that is very like that. I mean, I'm wearing all black today to review this album because that's the aesthetic of this album. There isn't a lot of moments where we're separating ourselves from understanding that darkness is all around us, that it's plaguing us, that we're trying to overcome something, really some deep struggle internally. There aren't very many moments where that is clear and we can overcome that. And so all of these songs just sort of beautifully, you can like wallow in them. And maybe they're not always the best songs to listen to when you're in a happy state of mind, because you're going to be like, God, this is just so heavy. I don't want to get in this place right now. And I felt that way about quite a few of these songs. It's really for a specific mood when you really feel, you feel angsty and you feel depressed at the same time. I don't know how to put it, but hey, it's people who wear all black. It was that sort of aesthetic, and it's hidden all those cylinders. Snow White Queen is an interesting song. It's the first song I believe that was actually written for this record, and it's actually one of the last songs that I actually ever heard in its entirety. And I guess I would have to say, if there was one song I'm really not that crazy about on this record, it would be that song, because I always kind of felt confused by it. It At first look, it just feels like it's very abstract. She's speaking about this Snow White Queen who haunts her in her dreams. And is she talking about herself, or some darker part of herself? Then I researched into this song, and this song is actually inspired by experiences that Amy had with stalkers, and how she really felt like her privacy was being infringed upon, which it was, and how scary and hard it was to sleep at night knowing these things. And I think that insecurity and that fear is what really inspired the sort of more abstract lyrics that this song explores. Lyrically, it's much stronger than I think it is melodically, but it still is a beautiful song with somewhat of a triumphant, but again, dark sound to it, like all of these songs. See, you belong to me, my Snow White Queen. There's nowhere to run, so let's just get it over. Soon, my love, you'll see. You're just like me. Don't scream anymore, my love, because all I want is you. I'm like, she's in love with this Snow White Queen, this idea of herself or her darkness that is cold like the snow, and her fear, I guess, personified. And she's speaking about how she meets her at night in her dreams, and she's like, I can't escape you. You're always going to be there. I'm always going to feel scared of what's going to happen. And so I need to embrace you. I need to embrace my fear, the sublime of it. That's how I interpret it. Okay, so then we come to one of the most gothic songs on the record. This song is the definition of gothic. Lacrimosa. I mean, just listening to the title, I was just like, oh my God. This song was actually supposed to be written for the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe film from 2005, which, let me just say, is an amazing film that I highly recommend seeing. I don't really recommend the sequels that were made of the other amazing books by C.S. Lewis. They're amazing books, but the movies were just not as good. But this one was really well done. This song, I can see it in sort of living in that world, because it definitely has a storybook dark children's fairy tale aesthetic to it. Although I see why they maybe rejected it because it was too dark. That's apparently why it didn't make it on the cut for the soundtrack. But it's a beautiful song, and it features Mozart. In Mozart's Requiem, there's a sequence called Lacrimosa, and so it features that with the. So there's this dark orchestral backbone to this song, and then she just belts on top of it. Lyrically, I think this is again, it's about a relationship. I mean, it's about someone who feels distant once again from a lover who is starting to really hurt them. But there's this element of blame, is she to blame as well for the reason why this relationship didn't work out? Now that you're gone, I feel like myself again, grieving the things I can't repair and willing to let you blame it on me and set your guilt free. I don't want to hold you back now, love. I can't change who I am, not this time. I won't lie to keep you near me, and in this short life, there's no time to waste on giving up. My love wasn't enough. It's accepting that, I'm not enough for you. I have my shortcomings. We both sort of realized we needed to work on ourselves. I don't want to keep you trapped. When I'm working on myself, I've got demons I need to deal with. You probably do too. So I'm in love in a way by being alone. Again, there's that beautiful, sublime throwing everything to the darkness, saying it's like, people would think, it'd be so sad to break up, but this song almost is like, well, I'm so used to it. I'm in love with the feeling of breaking up. I'm in love with this dark, because things have just been so dark. Again, I mean, I can see why the song was way too dark to be included on that movie, because it is still kind of a children's movie, and it's got this beautiful sound and aesthetic, but I think the lyrics make it way too dark and kind of not fitting. It's way too adult. And it is just one of those, again, interesting songs. The songwriting is so strong, and that's why I really believe it's like up to the interpretation. Sometimes the lyrics, I do feel like, even though they're so rich, they still just take a back seat to the haunting sound of the choirs and of the, orchestral elements. All of these things melting together for a real, like, pleasurable, dark experience that's over the top and cinematic and operatic. And all of these elements are, like, played through again in all of these songs. Okay, Like You is one of the only non-singles from this album that I actually listened to, again, back when I was like 15 years old. I was drawn to this song because it is very different from any of the other songs on this album, and I think it fits more a little bit in the aesthetic of Fallen in terms of its sound, because it has a little bit more of a pop sound to it in the background. It's definitely got some more electronic beats. Evanescence always has been interested in electronica, like Portishead, for example, and Bjork, and this song sort of speaks to that direction, compared to some of the other songs, which are more classically nu metal sounding or alternative metal sounding. Like You, though, is a really, really emotional song. This song is, again, it's about Amy Lee's sister who passed away when she was very young. Now, this has haunted Amy her whole life, as it would anyone. She wrote an amazingly beautiful song on her first album, Fallen, called Hello, which, when I do review Fallen, I will speak about how strong and powerful that song is, because it is one of the most, again, beautiful songs of Evanescence. And it's a song that she can't even perform live ever because it's just too dark and personal for her. Like You is the sister song to Hello. It's, again, a really dark, personal moment of reflection. Again, I didn't know that when I first listened to the song. I didn't even know that she was yearning to be dead like her sister, to meet her at the beginning. I thought she just wanted to be like someone else, like I interpreted it as someone who just like is in love with someone else but also wants to be someone else. But actually it's a lot darker than that, because it's a familial bond, and it's this love that will make death a small thing. I want to be with my sister. I don't care if I have to die. I want to be with her. And the real line that, really hits home is, I hate me for breathing without you. And that was where I sort of realized, oh, now I know what she's singing about. This is someone who's not alive anymore. And I feel so guilty. I hate myself for not being with you. Every time I sleep at night, my nightmares remind me of this just separation that I'm going to always experience from you, and I hate that. Grieving for you, I'm not grieving for you. Nothing real love can't undo, and though I may have lost my way, all paths lead straight to you. She can choose to openly grieve or not. There's no escaping this feeling, this sadness, this longing to connect once again, which we can all, anyone who's lost someone which I haven't, thank God, but I know that when I do this like really close, this is going to be a song that is going to even have 10 times more meaning to me now than it does even now because of the emotional feelings that it'll conjure up with the lyrics. I long to be like you, like hold in the ground like you. There's room inside for two, and I'm not grieving for you. I'm coming for you. It's really, really dark. It's like I'm gonna join you. And one day I will. But I wish I could lay in the earth with you. I mean, oh, looking back, I really didn't see those lyrics nearly as dark when I was little. I was like, there's room inside for two. I thought she meant maybe inside of a heart. I thought that's what that lyric meant. And now I'm like, oh gosh, it could mean that, but when you know the story behind the song, it's a lot heavier and darker. It's about a coffin. So the again gothic elements of not being afraid to talk about suicide and wanting to end someone's life without you thinking like, oh my god, they're actually suicidal. It's just expressing it through art and music, and I really appreciate that. I mean, that's an element of this kind of music, and some people it may be just too much. It may be too dark. They might not understand, but anyone who's really kind of been there and knows that darkness will understand that you have to learn to accept that you can't run from these feelings. You can't run from your nightmares. You can't run from your grievances and darkness. It's always going to be a part of you to some extent. And if you just accept it and learn to let it go through art and music, it won't haunt you and lord over you so powerfully. The next song, Lose Control, it's basically her pleading possibly to herself, but also to someone else to let themselves be more open, to be a little bit freer in themselves, to loosen up. There's some really abstract lyricism. I mean, she references Mary had a little lamb. Mary had a lamb, his eyes black as coals. If we play very quiet, my lamb, Mary never has to know. Was like, wait a minute. When I read these lyrics, because listening to the song, it just sort of sweeps over you. And again, you're just sort of swept up in this sort of haunting, pulsating sound that's sort of, again, characteristic of this song and songs like Cloud Nine and Weight of the World. These three songs kind of all speak to each other as being like very similar sounding in that I do kind of forget which song is which, and they have somewhat similar melodies. There are some similarities, but the songs are about completely different things, and the lyrics are so rich. I mean, beyond the context of understanding, I just wish you would lose control. What does it mean by her saying, I want to hide this lamb, I want to be very quiet. I want to hide this innocence. Maybe it speaks to like, I want to, I want to upset Mary, like I want this lamb with black eyes to revolt, to be different from all the other lambs, I'm interpreting it that way. It's really abstract, and there's just all of these beautiful elements, like pulling in children's stories and twisting words and twisting phrases and putting them on their heads, and there's some really beautiful songwriting. I mean, it's just so rich and textured, and it goes beyond just like vague statements of like, I just want to lose control, which is also sort of interspersed in there, which kind of grounds the song with some meaning that you can sink your teeth into more. But then the rest of it is sort of like abstract and keeps you sort of in this enigmatic understanding of what the song really is about. Keeps it open though, because again, it's very open to interpretation. And I'd be really curious, like, again, anyone in the comments to like talk about these songs more and what you think they might mean, and beyond just like the general sort of, obvious meanings of some of these songs that come through with some of the more like obvious transparent lyrics. The only one, this is one of those songs that I really think is more of a broader sort of about human condition sort of song. It carries this like very beautiful piano with this also crunching electronic guitar, but also some beat driven sounds in the background before it kind of explodes. And she says, all our life we've been waiting for someone to be our leader. And I think this song is speaking about like someone for the people who don't feel like they belong in this world, for the people who feel lost and confused. We all just want someone to lead us and help us because we're so lost and confused. There's so much that we don't understand about how people and why people are the way they are. Someone save us, we need a savior. We need someone who can pull us all from this grieving, this sadness that we're all experiencing perhaps collectively as a planet. I mean, there's all of these openings to different meanings that can be construed from these songs, but I do think it just at the base is about that. And I think it's a very beautiful sort of, yelling at the cosmos kind of song. Like, come on, I need something from this. I'm yelling at a brick wall, but I need the wall to speak back to me. And there's this real feeling of desperation. The song reeks of that, like this forlorn world, post-apocalyptic, where the people are finally realizing they want to like overcome this darkness and build a better world, but we need guidance from the heavens, like a light to shine down. But she sings, I don't need that. I need to overcome this. I need to build myself up, or we all need to build ourselves up again. Your Star, this is a beautiful sort of different song from the rest of the record. It employs a choral breakdown at the end that's a lot more reminiscent of songs on the Fallen era, but it starts out with just this beautiful piano-driven melody that is just so reflective and calming a little bit, because the rest of the album has been so dark and brooding and heavy, and this song kind of breaks that down a little bit for once, and it's very subtle and subdued until it does build and layers and gets more sounds going on and on. I think this song was inspired by her seeing the night sky but not seeing a single star because of light pollution. And she was like, I want to just see one star. And when you finally see that one star, you're like, and I love that one lyric says, though I patiently wait bedside for the death of today. A beautiful way of saying, I wait for the night to see your star in the sky. So it's dark, it's again all these gothic elements, but there's some real hopeful, I see you through the darkness, you shine out through it. And your star is something beautiful to reach for, to possibly it symbolizes someone again who's passed on, or it's an idea of something that comes only at night. When I feel all alone, you guide me on my path. You're what I look to. So it's symbolic. And I do love, in one moment, she anecdotally actually describes how the song was formed. She says, though the mechanical lights of Lisbon drove you away. Lisbon, Portugal, which is where the song was supposedly written. So that's where she throws that in and says, all these lights are trying to get you to disappear. All of this fakeness of technology and civilization, but you're beyond that. You're still there, and I can see you. When I shut out all of the noise, when I find myself alone in the woods or in a beautiful nature area, you're still there. There's still all these interesting elements that come together for this. All That I'm Living For is basically all about existential angst. It's screaming to the heavens, or understanding the darkness, screaming to the darkness. I've learned so much by observing people and seeing this world, but I still have ghosts that are chasing me. And I want to close the last open door. I want to, and that's where that one lyric is inspired from. Although for the title of this album, although the open door is much more kind of a hopeful thing, and the theme of this album, she sings, in this song, I want to close it. I don't want to, let the ghost in. Let's close all these doors until like all this mystery that's gaining on me, that's haunting me in my dreams. But also accept that I'm living for this. I'm accepting and knowing these demons will be with me. It has some real strong electronic elements along with the heavy guitars. And also, I think this song is also, it's been like said to be inspired by how Amy Lee writes mostly at night, her like lyrics and stuff. So that's inspired by like all of these things like kind of coming together and meeting her at night and all these ideas. And it's really, again, it's just gothic and dark, but it's true. It's a celebration of that. I don't know how else to describe it. You just sort of decipher the lyrics to your own kind of level of understanding yourself. I don't know. You can find darkness in it, or you can find hope in it. It depends on where you are in your mind. And I think that's what makes these songs so beautiful and open to interpretation. The last song, Good Enough, probably is my second favorite song on this album. It definitely is, actually. Good Enough is such a beautiful song. It was the single from the album. It was the last single. It is one of the most beautiful piano ballads that Evanescence has ever made, that Amy Lee has done. I think this song is actually even better than My Immortal. It is a sister song to My Immortal from Fallen, but it is just so much more gothic and haunting even. She reaches some amazing, beautiful notes, and there's some rawness to her voice that just gets you in the heartstrings. You can really feel the emotion, because this song is a lament. Drink up, sweet decadence. I can't say no to you. And I've completely lost myself and I don't mind. I can't say no to you. Shouldn't let you conquer me completely. Now I can't let go of this dream. Can't believe that I feel good enough. I feel good enough for you. When you're enamored with someone, you fall under their spell. You think about them constantly, but you're constantly second guessing, am I good enough for this person? And sometimes you finally realize that, yes, I am good enough. I am worthy. And I think that though this song is speaking of a relationship, I think more so it's speaking about her relationship with herself and realizing that she is good enough for her for to love. You know, she's worthy of love. Even if people aren't treating her like she is, this person is accepting everything about themselves, their flaws, the good, the bad, the ugly, and is saying, I'm worthy of love and I'm going to open myself up to it again. And that's why in the music video, it sort of like shows that self-destructive nature. You know, the piano in the room starts to burn into fire and flames. That symbolizes the relationship crumbling down. But then from the flames grows all these beautiful flowers. And so it's the reconciliation of all of this darkness and understanding that I actually am through this experience that might have been really hard, might have been heartbreaking. Through all of this, I've learned to love myself and I've learned how to open myself up to truly love others and be worthy. And no matter what someone might do or break my heart, I'm still worthy of love. I'm still willing and ready to accept it. And that's a beautiful sort of sentiment to end the album because it is a hopeful one. It is one of calm after the storm. This album is definitely a lot of the storm. There's a lot of darkness and broody, kind of moody stuff going on. I mean, it's honestly thematically darker than even Fallen was because the songwriting is just so abstract, so gothic, so twisted and kind of manipulative that it really has you when you're looking at the lyrics going, oh my God, this person's in a really dark space. But there's this triumphantness to it as well. Like I'm overcoming this by putting this out there, by writing all these songs. It's this catharsis. So yes, there are songs that speak to me more, you know, like Good Enough and Lithium, because you know, they don't have as much of the heavy guitars, but the heavy guitars are symbolic. They're this pounding sound, and this is a rock band. They're going to utilize it. And so the scope of this album is very sonically diverse, but beautiful and feels cohesive in a way that really feels like a story being told. And so I really recommend this album. It's my favorite Evanescence album. Again, it's dark and it's powerful, but it's captivating. And it's a really beautiful sort of haunting thrill ride, basically, for the ears with some amazing melodies and some amazing, like, melodrama. Talk about melodrama, like, really. So ultimately, it's an amazing song. I really love the music video for Good Enough. It's her in this beautiful sort of gothic setting with all of the elements that this song makes me feel. It just makes me feel like this princess who's like this dark witch who's just like casting spells on her environment. It's so beautiful, and I really, really, really love that song. So overall, that was my review of The Open Door. It's really hard to analyze these lyrics, though. They are deep and dark. I guess I can just tell it from that and say that. Yes, there are moments where the guitars get a little too much for me, like on songs like All That I'm Living For. It gets a little grating after like listening to like 11 songs prior of that. You're like, okay. By that point, you're a little tired of it, and I'm not the hugest heavy metal fan by any means. This is kind of the extent of my listening experiences to this kind of music, but it still is a really beautiful, solid album, and I really think it showcases what Evanescence really is beautifully, and is the perfect sort of companion project to Fallen. So, and it got good reviews. You know, it was a very successful album. It sold over 5 million copies. I mean, it was a huge success, which was really hard to follow off of the mega success of their debut. So let me know in the comments what you thought, Evanescence fans. I know I might not necessarily review artists that always kind of are in the same category of Evanescence. I'm not big into artists like, you know, Korn or Creed. I don't listen to those kind of bands that are sort of in the same vein. But Evanescence is one of those bands I always will listen to and love. And so just let me know in the comments what you thought, and I will review Fallen and Evanescence, their self-titled. And I'm looking forward to their album Synthesis, which is coming out in November, which is them realizing all of these songs. And a lot of these songs from The Open Door are on there in a more sort of symphonic way and less of a heavy metal rock way. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I will be reviewing that album when it does come out. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and subscribe if you like what you see. I will be back in the next one. Thanks. Bye.